And Richard, maybe we need to start with inflation, because the numbers that we got this week are incredibly hot once again. We just got December retail sales numbers, and they showed a surprising drop as well. You just wonder if you're starting to get to the point where inflation actually matters to Americans, even though the unemployment numbers are so low and even though wages have risen pretty substantially, too.
No, obviously, it is of import to the average American. You heard it during the hearings for Powell and for Brainerd from both sides, Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. So that reflects what their constituents are telling them and what they're worried about, especially if you look, as was pointed out in the previous segment, at food prices, which are stripped out, as you know, energy prices are stripped out. And very importantly, in the CPI numbers that were reported, which were awfully strong in terms of the inflationary impulse, the way that they impute a rate for rents, if you actually look at apartment rentals and what they cost now and how fast they've risen, and you put that in that number, we're talking about an inflation rate around 10%, double digits. That's what people are living with right now. So, yes, this is an issue. You saw that enormous shift. I was very proud of Lael Brainerd for making it pretty clear, as did Powell, that inflation is an issue. They're behind the curve. They have to do something about it, and they will.
I mean, that's what kind of surprised me, to see the market trade higher after Powell's confirmation hearings, where he was talking before the Senate, because he said things and the market kind of brushed it off and thought, OK, maybe they're not going to be quite as aggressive on raising interest rates as we had expected before. But listening to him, listening to Lael Brainerd, I mean, this is a Fed that is pretty committed and definitely recognizes the risks to inflation and is looking at that as their job number one right now. They think the employment market is pretty well taken care of, and any additional work that needs to be made there will have to come through their first mandate of controlling costs.
You know, Becky, I've said this before on the show. Their decision model, which they've now abandoned, was the wrong way to approach things. It was reactionary. You waited to see the whites of the eyes of inflation, and then you would move. The way it used to be when I was there and for eons before is you anticipated, you did your best, sometimes you were wrong, and you moved to prevent this from happening if you were successful in doing so. So I think it's a catch-up game. They are behind the curve. I'm happy to see them acknowledge that. And as to the market reaction, look at what's happened the last couple of days. Look at what's happening this morning in terms of the futures. So it's not necessarily instantaneous, and I don't think you can judge much from that.
Well, in terms of what comes with these new nominations that we've been seeing, including Sarah Bloom Raskin being nominated to head up enforcement in some of these issues, regulatory issues that are there, I have seen some people speculate that this could be a little tougher sledding for the banks. Do you think that they are going to be facing some more difficult times ahead, just in terms of what to anticipate, what the regulators will be looking for?
Well, first, I'm a fan of Sarah's. I mean, you go all the way back to her undergraduate days. She was Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude in economics, by the way, which is kind of nice. She was on the Fed board when I was there, a very short period there. She's only there for 3.5 years. She's Deputy Secretary of the Treasury. She has a good administrative bureaucratic background, and I think she's well qualified for the job. They're going to have to take a very close look here. For example, the green agenda, the climate agenda. You might go too far if you're not careful in overemphasizing this and cutting off certain credits that go to certain important public sectors and business sectors. So I think hopefully they'll be balanced in this. She certainly has the administrative and bureaucratic background to handle that kind of work. She's very smart. And my guess is there will be some Republicans in the Senate that will hold her husband's political portfolio. He's a congressman, as you know, from Maryland, Democrat, fairly liberal. I think that would be unfair if they hold that against her. But I think she'll get confirmed, and I'm hopeful that the same will happen. Obviously, the formal vote still needs to take place for Lael Brainerd and for Jay Powell. One thing that stuck in my brain after those hearings was listening to Senator Menendez of New Jersey, who is not really my kind of political guy. But he was right. Where are the Hispanics? Where are the Latinos? We don't see them in any senior economic position. Small business administration is not the most senior cabinet post. And I hope he presses that very, very hard. If you want to have a Fed board that looks like America, we have to have some Latinos on there. We haven't in memory.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.